This video is going to walk you through creating tables in MySQL, defining columns, setting data types, as well as setting constraints. Now, what is constraint? Constraints are the operations limiting a particular column or a table. So don't forget, before we can create a table, we have to create a database. Don't forget, in our last video, we see how to create database and drop database. So definitely we don't have any database at hand. So let's recreate our database before we can move ahead to create a table and manipulate the table. So we say create database earlycode. We put the semicolon, we execute it. So we have to activate the database. I told us that if we don't activate the particular database, any operation you are performing, it won't know which of the table to apply the operation on. So we say use early code. So let's refresh so that we can have our database here. So let's see how we can create a table. To create a table, we use the keyword of create again. We say create table. Create table. What is the table name? We say student info. So now the next thing that will come in is what are the necessary columns, the data types for that columns, and the necessary constraints for that column. So now we have some constraints like the primary key, which is our unique identifier, the not null, which you can't leave any table or any column empty. We have the null, we have the default, and so on. So we are going to be using some certain constraint here. So the first thing I'm going to have is the student ID. So I call it SID as the column name. Then what is going to follow the SID is the data type. So I say this one is going to be string. And string here has various type of string. We have the character, variable character, text, medium text. So what differentiates them is the numbers of or the length of characters each of this type of string can take. So I'm going to be using the variable character. Then I'm going to set the length to 15. So the length cannot be more than 15. Then I say it's going to be primary key. The constraint is going to have primary key, which means this SID is a student unique identifier. So if you want to search for any student, we use the SID. Then we are going to put another constraint, which is not null. You cannot leave it empty. In a nutshell, any column you assign the primary key to cannot be empty. So I have S name, which is to represent the student name. The data type is going to be string also, so I'm going to use variable character. Then I say the length is 255, so the length of the student name cannot be more than 255. Then I put the constraint not null. Then I do the same thing for S gender, which is the gender of the student. Variable character is also string. Then I say the length cannot be more than 10. Then I say not null. So let's say I've come to the end of the table. I want to create, I've insert all the necessary columns. I put the semicolon, then I execute it. Boom. You see, I didn't have any error. It says what? The table has been created. So let's refresh and let's see what has happened. So you see, when we refresh, there's an arrow indicating that there we now have a table. So if I click on the drop down arrow, you see we have a table called the student info. So let's say, for example, I made a mistake. Maybe I didn't include one column. I made a mistake in any of the column or the data type. How do we change it? I can't come back to this line of query command that I used to create the table. It's going to return an error. That's why they make provision for us to alter the table and make necessary changes. So how do we do that? Let's say I want to add new column. I come here and say alter table student info. What do I want to do? I want to add new column. Add column. Then I say S address. Then I say the data type is going to be text, which is strange data type. Then not null. Then I put the semicolon. Then I run it. So let's run this command to see if it has successfully added it. So we say show columns from student info. Put the semicolon, then we run it. So you can see it has successfully had what? The student address. So this column, you see, it was added at the end of the what? Columns, not at the beginning of the table, but at the end of the table. So let's say we want to add a new column, but it's going to be immediately after another column, not the end of the table like this. So we alter the table again. We say alter table student info, add column. Which column do we want to add? We say SDOB, which is date of birth. We say it's going to be date, not the data type is date. Then we say after gender. So what we mean is this particular column is meant to be added after the S what? Gender column. Then I put the semicolon, I run it. We don't have any error. Everything is okay. This particular line of code, I copy it, take it down to run it again to see if the new column we added was added successfully and it follows the necessary instruction that we provided. So you can see after S gender, we have the SDOB, which is the student date of birth. Okay, so we can add the new column to be the first column. So we say alter table student underscore info, add column. Then I said ID integer is going to be of integer data type. Then I say first. It simply means this will be the first column on the table. I put the semicolon and I execute it. No error. Everything is working fine. Then I copy this line of query command code again, paste it here, then run it to see. So you can see we have the ID as the first column. So let's say we don't need a column. How do we do it? We can delete it. But how do we do that? We have to alter the table again. We say alter table student info drop column ID. So that means I don't need this ID again. I put the semicolon, I run it. Then I copy this line of code again to show. Let's see what we have. Then I run it. So you can see we don't have the ID again. Okay, so the next one is, let's say you want to modify the data type or you want to change any of the constraints. How do we do that? We have to use the modify. So we alter the table again. Alter table student info modify column s name. Then the new data type is going to be text, not null. Then I put the semicolon, then I execute it. So let's run the show columns again and let's see. You can see that the s name, the data type has changed from variable character to text. Okay, so let's say we want to change the column name itself. How do we do that? We say alter table student info, which is our table name, change column, change column SDOB to S date of birth, date, not null. Put the semicolon. So we are changing the SDOB to S date of birth. Then I run it. We don't have any error. So let's show the columns again. Let's see what we have. So you can see that it has changed it from SDOB to S date of birth. So let's say we want to change the table name itself. How do we do that? We say alter table student underscore info, rename to student bio 1. When I put this, then I execute it. So let's refresh and let's see what we have here. you can see that our table has changed from student info to student underscore bio 1. Now you see that it's very easy to create a table and manipulate table in MySQL. We see in our next video.